order of my presentation is going to be periodic maintenance, and then I'll talk about the classical periodic maintenance activities, which are the resealing, and you have the overlays. And so I'll begin the last time the presentation talked about the routine maintenance and emergency maintenance works. This time I'm going to talk about periodic maintenance. Yeah. So by definition, we would have periodic maintenance, activities carried out on the road over a long period time interval, usually a number of years after construction, to preserve the structural integrity of the road. Depending on the road surface type and the defects, periodic maintenance activities can be grouped under two main headings. That is under the paved roads and also under the unpaved roads. Now, for paved roads, we have resealing, partial reconstruction, which originally we used to call it resurfacing. And then we have rehabilitation paved, and then we have the overlay, that is the asphalt overlay. So these are the periodic maintenance activities that are carried out on paved roads. Now, for unpaved roads, we have regraveling, and then we have rehabilitation on paved. Now, these are the classical or the traditional periodic maintenance works. Anything different from this or the scope changes the definition of periodic maintenance. Now, so if an activity, a periodic maintenance activity, is identified to be undertaken on any road, what we do is that we carry out detailed inventory or at the project level survey. And that one is done on candidate roads requiring periodic maintenance to obtain the following existing road information or data, amongst others. You have to pick the road width, you pick the pavement type of material for the existing road and the thicknesses, you pick the pavement strength, the road defects, you identify the type and condition of the road drainage that you have, that is the existing, that is, and then also the general condition of the road. So when you do a detailed inventory or the project level survey to assess the condition of the road and all the interventions that are required, that will help you to prescribe the appropriate periodic maintenance intervention. Now, so we want to go straight to the various periodic maintenance activities. The first one is resealing. Now, resealing, I should say, is the cheapest and it requires less cost. So it's actually by the classical definition, we are saying that it's placing or you are applying another seal coat on an existing bituminous surface dress road to seal cracks and improve skid resistance. Here, you would have to patch the potholes and cracks, and then you apply the seal coat. By the classical definition, we shouldn't have construction of concrete structures in resealing projects. Also, there shouldn't be no alignment change and no pavement works. So we should take note of these attributes, for resealing works. By the classical definitions, we shouldn't have all these activities coming into play. Now, resealing seeks to provide adequate and proper surface texture and also improve skid resistance. It corrects defects such as potholes, cracks, raveling, stripping, bleeding, and rotting. Supposed to eliminate effects of wear and oxidation. Now, resealing works, the activities involved, like I said earlier, you have to patch the potholes. All the potholes that are found on the road need to be patched. And In some cases, if you have drop shoulders, you need to reinstate the drop shoulders. Now, before you can do any sealing works, you need the surface, the existing surface should be well cleaned. And so you need to clean and sweep the existing road surface. Since drainage or water is the enemy, is the worst enemy, of roads, so you would have to make sure that the drainage systems works. And so if you have line drains, you need to clean. If you have, earth ditches, you need to clean out the earth ditches to improve the road drainage. And then you apply the seal coat. And the seal coat is just the bitumen plus the chippings that you use. Now, for the key equipment that you deploy to undertake this activity, you have the mechanical broom or the rotary broom. Hitherto, we used to have those manual hand broom. You see a lot of men, sweeping the road. Now we have mechanical and rotary broom, but notwithstanding, we still, employ some few men to do some manual cleaning to sweep the road at areas that the machine cannot really work. And then you need a payloader and trucks, you need a bitumen distributor and the chip sealer, which are the key equipment that are required. And you have traffic control devices and other hand tools that you need. Now, like I said, a classical resealing is supposed to be applicable to only resealable roads. If the road is not resealable, it means resealing is not applicable. Now, when you construct a road, we should have a program, maybe between every 5-7 years, we need to, reseal the road to rejuvenate, the pavement surface condition and the structural integrity. Now, in Ghana and presently, what we use, the bitumen that is used is the straight run bitumen. That is the AC10 or the 8000 pen grade. In some cases, we have bitumen emulsion. And in all these, they are supposed to meet, these bitumen types are supposed to meet certain requirements or the specifications. The chipping size that is also applied is 10 mm or 14 mm, depending on the chipping size of the existing surface condition and the traffic volume. Now, the bitumen spray rate for the bitumen and the chipping spread rate must be designed or approved before application. And the manual that guides is the design of bituminous surface treatment by SMEC. Now, the next activity is partial reconstruction, meaning that if you do not do resealing and maybe you begin to have more defects coming up, showing up, and resealing is not applicable, then the next periodic activity that must be considered is partial reconstruction. We used to call it resurfacing. Now, by classical definition, we are saying that partial reconstruction is just scarifying the existing badly deteriorated bituminous surface road. And then you strengthen the base with addition of adequate thickness of the base course material. And then you apply the bituminous surface treatment. And here we are using a Pramaseal and seal on the prepared base. Now, so resurfacing is just purely you scarify and then you just strengthen the base and you Pramaseal and seal. Now, the activities involved here include clearing and then the scarification that we all know. And then you clean out and improve drainage. And then you place the additional base course to strengthen the road pavement. You compact and prepare the surface to receive Pramaseal and seal. As I did indicate, here there is no construction of concrete structures and no alignment change. So for partial reconstruction, you are not supposed to have construction of drainage works. In case you are to do drainage works, then the activity will no longer be called partial reconstruction. It will be termed, it will have a different terminology or a different activity. Now, the key equipment is a full set of, earth moving machinery or machines, equipment. You have grader, you have dozer, you have the rollers, vibratory and pneumatic tire roller, which you need a vibratory for compaction of the base and the pneumatic tire roller for the surface treatment works. The water tanker and buzzer, very necessary. You have the rotary broom, payloader to load your trucks, and your bitumen works equipment. You need a bitumen distributor, the chip sealer, and not forgetting your traffic control devices and hand tools. The hand tools could include, you have watering cans, some pickaxes and shovel and wheelbarrow and the rest. Now, the next slide talks about a combination of the resealing and the partial reconstruction. Depending on the existing road condition, you cannot probably have one activity, say resealing, but then a combination of resealing and partial reconstruction, can be implemented. And so here we are saying that the existing and the prevailing road condition may require a combination of these two periodic maintenance interventions, that is resealing and partial reconstruction. Now, this happens when you delay routine maintenance and periodic maintenance timeously, then most of these surfaces, go very bad, have severe and extensive distresses. And this includes not limited to the following defects: severe and prevalent surface defects such as potholes, alligator cracks, transverse and longitudinal cracks, and bleeding. And you also have severe and prevalent edge breaks, shoulder drops, where the roads are narrow and becomes very unsafe for motorists. And so when you have, and then road drainage issues. And so when you have those and the road cannot be resealed, or the roads are not resealable purely, and then you would have a combination of these two. You undertake both the resealing and the partial reconstruction. In this case, sections of the road are resealed and sections of the road, are partially reconstructed. Yeah, so that is what I talked about. So for resealing, resealable sections, that is where you have slight and localized defective sections. And for partial reconstruction sections, where you have extreme and prevalent defective sections. So like I said, sections of the road with slight and localized will have to be resealed, and that would be extreme and prevalent defective section would have to be reconstructed partially. Now, in all these two activities I have talked about, like I said, drainage is not part. Construction of drainage structures, is not part, such as concrete U-drains, culvert, trapezoidal drain. It's not part of the core activities. However, most of our existing roads have drainage issues, particularly side drains, due to uncontrolled development and accompanying access roads. So consequently, you have construction of drainage structures where necessary, being considered to be part of the scope of works of all our periodic maintenance activities. So this tends to increase the cost per kilometer whenever additional critical activities are considered. And so immediately you bring in construction of concrete structures, then the activities are no longer the classical periodic maintenance activities. Now we are still talking about the classical periodic maintenance. Next is the asphalt overlay, or simply overlay. Now, by definition, classically, we are saying is the placing of asphaltic concrete layer on an existing bituminous surface dressed or asphalt surface road, to strengthen the pavement. So you are placing an asphalt concrete layer, on an existing BST or a bituminous surface dress, or an existing asphalt surface road to strengthen the pavement. Now, this intervention is applicable to fair condition roads to bring them to good condition. Now, when the road becomes so poor, that is having all the ratings are so high for all the defects, the distresses, then overlay will no longer be applicable. Now, the overlay is supposed to correct defects such as potholes, rutting, cracks, raveling, depressions, and these are supposed to be slight to moderate, severity. Immediately it becomes extreme and extensive, then overlay will no longer work. Now, the basic work activities involved here are the patching of potholes. Few potholes that are on the road, you need to patch them. You sweep or clean the road to make sure it's free from all materials, unwanted materials on the road. And then you apply your tar coats with using bitumen emulsion, and then you lay your asphalt concrete using a hot mix. And so this is the classical overlay intervention. Here there is no earthworks, no pavement, and no drainage works. For asphalt overlay, you are not supposed to undertake earthworks, no pavement works, and drainage works. Now, overlay intervention changes to rehabilitation when the above, that is the earthworks and the pavement works and the drainage works, are considered part of the scope. Immediately these activities become part of the scope of works, then it changes the definition of the overlay to a rehabilitation. Now, during overlay, you need to get approval for some designs to ensure that they meet the specifications. Even the pothole, you will have to make sure that the right mixes are applied on the road. And then you also have to get the type and the properties of the bitumen to be used for the asphalt works. The spray rate for the tar coat and the asphalt concrete mix design all must be approved before application. The equipment used for overlay purely the asphalt laying equipment. You have the broom, you need the mechanical broom, the bitumen sprayer or the charcoal dispenser. You have the asphalt paver is critical, and you have the steel drum roller, pneumatic tire roller. They are all needed. You need a payloader to load your trucks, and then you have the traffic control devices, very critical for safety to ensure that you work in a very safe environment on the road. Now, the next is rehabilitation paved. Now, rehabilitation paved is also a periodic maintenance activity. Now, where I started from, it means the cost is increasing. Less cost is resealing, you move to next, you have the partial reconstruction, the next overlay, and then we have rehabilitation on paved. The rehabilitation on paved involves on surface dress roads, you can have rehabilitation on a paved road, that is on surface dress road, and also on asphalt concrete roads. Now, in all these cases, you need to scarify the existing bituminous surface dress. That is for the surface dress roads. You need to scarify. That one which is in poor condition. You need to scarify. You strengthen the road base with additional pavement layers, including earthworks and construction of drainage structures. So the rehabilitation or partial reconstruction we talked about earlier didn't include the earthworks and the concrete works. So immediately you bring in earthworks, concrete works, and extensive, maybe additional pavement works, then we have rehabilitation works, at hand. And so that is for surface dress roads. Now, for asphalt concrete roads, you need to mill under the rehabilitation paved roads, you mill the existing asphalt concrete surface in poor condition and replace with a new asphalt concrete surface, sometimes including earthworks, road pavement works, and the construction of drainage structures. Later, we will come and I'll show some pictures requiring some rehabilitation works and overlay works as we go along. Now, the intervention here for rehabilitation page 6 to, strengthen the pavement structural integrity and also rejuvenate the serviceability levels of the road. Now, the activities involved here purely, site clearance, scarification and milling. You have earthworks, minor realignment of some sections if required, to enhance safety, placing of additional pavement layers, and also the bituminous surface or the asphalt concrete surface, that's the surfacing works. So that is for the periodic activities on paved roads, that is paved roads. Now we are moving to the unpaved. The first is regraveling. And by the classical definition is the placing of sub-base gravel of specified thickness on an existing gravel road to restore the thickness and serviceability level of the road. Now here, there is no earthworks. There is no drainage works. So for classical regraveling activity, we are talking about purely just the placing of the sub-base gravel. Now, the intervention is carried out on existing gravel road, supposed to correct gravel road surface defects such as the gravel loss, corrugation, reverse crown, and depressions, and the rest. The intervention is supposed to replace the depleted gravel surface material and also rejuvenate the visibility level of the existing gravel roads and strengthen the road pavement. Now, the activities involve, you have the roadside clearance, scarification, you have the clean out or the re-excavation of the roadside ditches, and most importantly, placing of the gravel sub-base material, usually between 100 to 150 millimeter thick, to strengthen the road pavement. You compact the sub-base using the appropriate compactive equipment to specification. Now, the key equipment here basically are the earth-moving equipment like the grader, dozer, backhoe, payloader trucks, the vibratory roller and the static roller, water tanker or bowser, and the traffic devices and other tools. The next activity on paved routes is rehabilitation on paved. Now, we talked about rehabilitation on a paved route earlier, and now we are talking about rehabilitation on paved. Now, the addition here, the additional activities here, include earthworks, drainage works, and then in addition to that of the regraveling, that is the gravel wearing course. And so here we have earthworks coming on board, we have drainage works coming on board, spot improvement works, and we have. And so for the equipment that are deployed, you have the grader, the dozer, the full complement of earth moving, equipment, including the concrete mixers where you use to do your concrete works. So in all these activities, you need to also consider road furniture works. Now, road furniture works, they are very also critical, and these include the installation of road signs to replace damaged ones in new locations. That is where you need to place new road signs. You need to identify and make sure it forms part of the scope of works. You also have to consider the road line marking. If you take resealing, for instance, you are going to seal over the existing road. And so if you have any marking there, it will no longer be there. And so you need to program, make sure that your road line marking forms part of your road furniture works. Crash barriers, areas that you have, you need to install new ones, and even the damaged barriers, you need to replace them, and all these form parts. You have the speed calming devices that you need to also install to ensure that the road is safe and other safety considerations. Now, when these activities are identified, you need to undertake, a detailed inventory, like I did indicate. And so when you are undertaking a road inventory, you need to consider the following. Now, you need to analyze and determine the remedial interventions and prioritization of the maintenance works that are required. Now, under the project level survey, you collect the relevant data for the proposed work activities. And the data must be accurate and complete. And you need to also employ the expertise or the experts with the requisite experience, knowledge, and skills. Now, line diagram has been found to be very effective for the implementation of periodic maintenance works. And so we usually pick all the data that are required to be able to come out with a very detailed scope of works. Now, for the road information during the inventory, you pick the existing road geometry, the surface type, whether it's gravel or BST or is an asphalt concrete. Then you also pay attention to low-lying areas, soft spots, and take appropriate engineering decisions. And then you also identify sections of the road that require earthworks. Now, for drainage studies, you also have to pay particular attention to the existing drainage structures in terms of the type, the size, the length. Where necessary, you need to extend, you need to demolish and replace. All these things are considered. And then side drains that are so weak and damaged that you need to demolish and replace, you need to take note of all these to make sure that you have a comprehensive, data, to be able to prepare an adequate project for execution. Now, we've been using line diagrams. It's very simple, linear, and it's usually specify the locations and the work activities that are to be carried out at each point on the road. And it serves as a design drawing. Now, it's very simple and easy to interpret and implement. It's also less expensive. Now, for the generation of line diagram, the parameters, you need to make sure that it is well detailed and it covers all the essential work activities listed below. And this includes your clearing that you have to do, your scarification, your any excavate or cutting to widen to formation, and fill to widen, to fill to formation, drainage works, and pavement works that are required, your surfacing works, road signs and markings. So in all these activities that I've talked about, we usually present them on a line diagram, depending on the activities that are going to be carried out on the road. And so a typical example of the line diagram is shown here. And so you have the project name and you have from kilometer so and so to so and so. And we have all these activities and the changes shown there. And it makes it very easy for you to implement on the ground or on the road. Now, I want to take this, although upgrading and reconstruction, these are not periodic maintenance activities. They are typical road development works. I'm talking about this because most of our projects that we are awarding, falls under these categories, upgrading and reconstruction. And by definition, we are saying that, yes, it involves a complete overhaul or replacement of an existing road, typically due to severe damage to accommodate significant road changes. Now, you can have upgrading of gravel roads to bituminous surface, which involves all the rehabilitation, the regraveling of the gravel and the earth road, and then you finally you seal it either to bituminous. That is for changing it from gravel to bituminous surface. Now, you can also have upgrading to asphalt concrete, where the gravel is converted to an asphalt surface road, or you have a paved, a BST converted to an asphalt concrete surface. In both cases, we call upgrading, or reconstruction. Now, this intervention involves enhancing existing road to meet higher standards of road capacity requirements as the growing demand of communities and changing traffic conditions. Now, when you have these, then upgrading becomes very, very critical. It is very expensive intervention. The cost per kilometer is very, very high. Presently, we are having about 80 to 90% of our project portfolio, being upgrading or reconstruction. Because of that, we are not able to meet our road condition mix target, which is our 70-20-10. We need to change this trend to make sure we undertake more periodic maintenance activities. Now, these are some pictures that we have. And then this is a very clear, typical, and highly deteriorated surface that you need to undertake. This one, you have to do rehabilitation completely. Then you also have some regraveling, some treatment, swamp treatment on suitable material that you would also have to undertake on some of our roads. When you have drainage issues, when you are packaging a project, you need to consider the drainage aspect and also treat the accesses. And so you have some of these things coming into play. Although it's a resealing project or overlay, you need to cover those activities. Now, if you have these, existing road surface, definitely resealing will not work. This is a typical Accra Kumasi road. And so you have to do rehabilitation. And this is also the same Accra Kumasi. And here, typically, you will have to mill some of the shoved areas and then apply your overlay. And so here, a combination of milling and overlay. This is purely overlay because you don't have shoving, it's only cracks. So you just apply the overlay straight away and then you are good to go. Yeah, so challenges, we all know the budget allocation for for maintenance works inadequate. We have disregard for road maintenance management decision tools, misplaced priorities, late procurement and implementation of works. We have low or unresourceful contractor capacity, and we have the projects too are too high, especially the road length, over 50 kilometers awarded, for a project, and so it's not helping the network. Non-payments, and then we have long project implementation period. A project can last for, we have maybe more than 5 years, 6 years maintenance project. So this, we have conclusion recommendation. We need to have adequate budget allocation should be made for road maintenance. And the outcome of the management, that is the maintenance management decision tools should be considered for implementation. Routine maintenance is extremely important and must be given top priority. 100% budget allocation should be made. And then periodic maintenance, the classical one should be given second priority. And then the periodic maintenance too should be given a sizable length, for execution within 1 to 2 years. And then we have to engage resourceful and capable contractors who can deliver on time. And we should also have a dedicated project fund, possibly to be able to ensure timely payments to contractors. And then to also beef up our supervision team by way of personnel. It is better, they say, to fix a problem when it is too small than to wait when it becomes bigger. A stitch in time, they say, saves 9. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.